But the one that we haven't really spoken a lot about, I think, generally as a community, is location decisions. Now, we've talked a lot about the interiors and how they might change, but location decisions, and what it brings to mind for me is that, you know, you've got people like Spotify that are saying work from anywhere, do whatever, and it's like, well, okay, so hold on a minute. That then work from anywhere also could mean talent from anywhere, and if it's talent from anywhere, then what provision do we put in to provide corporate space to support them in other spaces that might not be owned by us, but might be, I don't know, a WeWork or an office group or Regis or something like that, and which is Spotify's approach, really. They're saying, come to one of our locations, go to someone else's location on us, or work from home, and we'll support all of them. But there is still a need for some sort of presence somewhere. So Dereck, I imagine it's a big headache for yourself, because your location decisions will be based on partly where you've got communities of members and a kind of critical mass that dictates that you need an operation in the country. You'll have slightly different cultures that have different attitudes towards working from home and all the rest of it. You'll be impacted by the market for co-working space and stuff like that. So how have you started to see any? Have you started to see any change in how you make some of your location decisions long term, without giving anything away in case any of your employees are watching and worrying?
Yeah, I don't want to start a riot. Or
exactly.
Yeah. So I think we've always kind of you know, when leases are coming up or when we're thinking about, you know, we've always asked those questions. You know, what do we need the space for? And as technology has been improving more and more, we've realized that to some extent, it's not necessarily the place that matters. It's actually about the people, right? So if you want good quality, kind of like, I would say maybe business development people, the nature of their role is, I mean, they'll just want a place to come and anchor at some point, but then they're spending time going to clients, going, you know, traveling, going to doing presentations. So in those kind of scenarios, do we really need a big shiny building, you know, that kind of thing? So so we definitely you know, are putting more thought in terms of why we need the space, and then that will drive, you know, some of those property type of you know, decisions. But definitely gone are the days where you kind of just, for example, you just renew a lease for the sake of, okay, we've been here for, you know, 5 years, want to be there for another 5 years. You know, you might want to be in the same location, but definitely you want to, you know, maybe you want the space to do something different, or you want a different type of space or more flexibility and things like that.
So I guess what we're saying is that there's a sharper focus on those decisions, because, you know, for those who aren't in the world of property and real estate, those kind of leasing decisions don't come around very often, depending on the type of lease you've got, right? And that's one of the problems with the whole market at the minute, is that you've got to make 10-year decisions, and you don't know what's going to happen, which is why we've seen a bit of a shift towards more of the flexible models like a WeWork and you know, and co-working space. Patrick, you know, just picking up on some of Dereck's points there, do you think, you know, the two things I heard there as well where, you know, perhaps the amount of space in a particular unit might adjust based on, actually, we're going to take a new approach to work. There might be a kind of a move away from statement buildings. You know, there's a lot of organizations that you kind of wonder what the real motivation is to have that enormous skyscraper that's half filled, but, you know, everyone can see it from a mile away. So there's sort of statement buildings that looks like quite an expensive statement these days. But the other thing I wondered as well, just to add to some of Dereck's thoughts, and then we'll get yours, but is that not only do you have to consider the world of work, our employees' activities as part of that shift, but actually, particularly for, I mean, I've got experience in professional bodies and that, like Dereck, and the actual services that professional bodies offer now, you know, a lot of the legacy of these buildings will be like member lounges and places for members to come in, and that's becoming less relevant because people are working from home. We've got digital technology, and I guess you've had some of that historically from a finance retail business. You know, the high street is looking differently, and banking's become much more digital. So I wonder whether some of your learning has blended into actually the employee experience. So again, I have a habit of asking you multi-layered questions, claiming them to be a quick viewpoint.
Yeah, exactly. So we yeah, there's loads in there, Chris, and I'll try and focus in on one part of it. If I don't answer correctly, just pick me up on it. But we talk in Nationwide about work is somewhere something you do, not necessarily somewhere you go. We've been fortunate enough to release some of our real estate. We've let some buildings. We don't think we're going to need them in the future. Going back to what you said about some bold decisions, I think that was a bold decision. I think we've decided we are not going back to how it was before. We will reinvest in the stock that we have retained and make it much more attractive for people and fit for the work that they will be doing going forward. You talk about the location. We're seeing some real upside in location. Many of you on this call, and maybe some of you on this panel, will recall the days where you had a particular project or a particular strategy you wanted to execute. So your HR function would head off and they would find their location hotspots around the country, and then quickly followed by your real estate people to see if there was space available. And then you'd sign a lease, you'd try and recruit some people, and Bob's your uncle, you're stuck with something for 15 years. And now we can recruit wherever we want. And we can offer people the opportunity, people who currently work for Nationwide, offer them the opportunity to develop their careers, whereas in the past it wouldn't have perhaps been so accessible. So if you imagine if you worked in a branch in Aberdeen and you were an absolute superstar, and they're all superstars, by the way, in case any of them are listening, but if you worked in Aberdeen and you were a superstar and you wanted to progress your career in Nationwide, you might have to up sticks, uproot your family, your social circle to move somewhere, and lots of people did. But I suspect it put a lot of people off as well. What we can do now is retain all of that talent, all of that capability into our organization, and allow people to grow and develop based where they are. Now, there might be a need once, twice a week, once, twice a month, depending on their role type, to come, travel, get together with people, but they don't necessarily have to uproot everything that they've worked most of their life to grow and develop. So for us, we're retaining lots of really good people. We're attracting lots of really good people because they don't have to be location based.